Taoiseach, this is one of your big days. This is the day that you give another €1.25 billion to bondholders, at the same time as you impose savage austerity on the rest of citizens. You may know, Taoiseach, during the election campaign that this bond traded as low as 54 cents in the euro. I presume because the ratings agency believed Fine Gael and Labour would stick to their promises to burden share and to impose this on these senior bondholders. But they, of course, they're the insiders. They know the inside track, and you have proved them right, and they make a huge profit at the expense of citizens. Now, Taoiseach, dúirt Eamon Gilmore for economic treason about on Scar, Shelbury and Anglo a Heck. So Cé Héad na Dini Shaw, Cé Héad na Scar, Shelbury, Cén take a knock duggan to na on a knock a doing, and will Agla Orav Riv na Suranig, Agla Orav Riv na Dainlahish. Taoiseach, will you name these bondholders? The Oireachtas has the right to know. The people have the right to know. All of those out there, whether it's rural communities hit by septic tank charges, VAT hikes, elderly patients, whether it's the people in our maternity wards, the 500,000 unemployed, our immigrants, every single citizen in this state and this Oireachtas has the right to know the names of these bondholders that you're giving 1.25 billion of the people's money to.
Taoiseach.
Well, Dr. Adams, nach bhfuil faitias ná scanra nó imní nó agla ar an rialtas fin rud seo. Bhualams gymach min an seas susan segus ará latsa ná cór gymach an airgad seo le níoch ach cafaré an níoch agus nach bhfuil níl slíthe be eile as a seoach. Tás ad freisin go raibh suas le 9.7 billiún le níoch hírin 2008 agus níl fácaí faoi láthair a 2.6 billiún agus tá airgad seo le níoch an margin. I would like to think, Deputy Adams, and we had this out yesterday in advance of, as you say, a big day today. It's not, I don't like to see a situation where this kind of repayment has to be made to these bondholders. I do not have a list of names of who these bondholders are, and I'm quite sure that those who are in possession of these bonds, their names have changed quite considerably since they first acquired them. So I don't have a list of names, but what I do want to say to you is what I said yesterday. You seem to consider, Deputy Adams, that there's an alternative here, and if we're not to pay money like this, you've failed to point out where the monies to provide services for the people in the public gallery and throughout this country actually come from. You are aware that we've received 110 billion for our covered banks at very low interest rates to keep our country moving. And the challenge of government is to sort out our public finances, be able to close our deficit, grow our economy, provide jobs and opportunities for our people here at home. And to have a situation where you consider that the government can simply say, no, it won't pay, and have no alternative is simply nonsensical. And the Minister for Finance returned yesterday from Frankfurt, having spoken to Mr. Draghi of the European Central Bank. The challenge here, and indeed the opportunity, which is now under discussion, is for the flexibility to be shown by our European colleagues towards the promissory notes, which require a 3 billion payment for each of the next 10 years. Flexibility in that would be of enormous importance and interest to Ireland here. And as the Minister pointed out, these are discussions that are now underway, in the same way as there were discussions about a reduction in the interest rate, which wasn't to come, according to some commentators, in the first instance either. So it's not easy, Deputy Adams, to have to say that this has to be repaid, but repaid it must be. And the alternative would be catastrophic in the context of what has happened in Greece. We have had 100,000 public servants let go. We have had reductions in public salary of an enormous scale. We have had decimation of services in many respects. We can't and won't allow that to happen to our country. I point out to you that the that there are signs of some confidence here, and yields yesterday at 6% speak of a growing interest and confidence in the international community in investment in this country. It means we have a very long way to go, but we're pointed in the right direction.
Gerry Adams.
Well, Taoiseach, you say you don't know the names of the bondholders, and that's, with respect, not good enough. It's a disgrace. And you say that we say there's another way. Well, that's correct. We do say there's another way. I'm wondering just, what happened to the 5-point plan? What happened to all the openness in government? And the deference you show to these bondholders contrasts just sharply with the government's attitude to citizens. And we heard yesterday from Gerry Burke, a consultant obstetrician in Limerick, who warned that the loss of 47 midwives in the Midwestern Regional Maternity Hospital in Limerick next month may cause lives. So your ministers wax lyrical about the awful consequences if we don't pay this. Do you give any consideration to the social consequences of this being paid and us not being able to afford it? I've written this morning to the Comptroller and Auditor General asking him to investigate these payments, who they were made to, what profits were made, and whether he considered this an appropriate use of public funds. And would you ask, this is my question, John Corrigan, if the Taoiseach's government knew Anglo-Irish Bank was insolvent and he asked the Irish taxpayer to bail it out and pay the cost we are now paying for it, that was and is economic treason. I stand over that. Eamon Gilmore, leader of the Labour Party, you're Taoiseach. Do you support that proposition today?
Thank you.
And will you find the names of these bondholders and name them here before we have to go on a whole search to establish who they are?
Well,
sorry. Deputy Taoiseach, please. Thank you.
actually, you're a great man to come in here and talk about openness and transparency and accountability. There were many occasions in the past where you were not so open in your comments. Many occasions. Now, I do not have a list of bondholders. I don't have that. Because I don't have that, because many of these would have changed over the years. But you're also the person who said, when I am elected to the Oireachtas, I will tell the Troika to go home and take their money with them. But you have refused to say to the Irish public how you would propose to deal with the consequence of that. Let me repeat again for you, Deputy Adams. 110 billion has been advanced by the ECB to the covered Irish banks to keep the services of this country going. Keep our services going. You have failed to point out how you pay the teachers, the guards, the nurses, the public service, the affiliate machines, how you keep our economy moving.
Could the chorus please stay quiet?
The question is about a list of bondholders that I don't have access to. But I'm saying to you, Deputy, that the bigger benefit for our country, which you can help if you wish, is to support the government's interest in having explained to our colleagues in Europe what would be of great benefit to every citizen here in having greater flexibility shown in the burden that our taxpayers and our people have in meeting a promissory note that requires a 30 billion payment over 10 years. And it's in there that the government have an opportunity, if we can arrive at a successful conclusion to these discussions, to have an impact on our deficit and make it easier for us to repay our burden. Yes, Ireland's heading in the right direction. This is very challenging. This is not easy, and it does impact upon services, and we have to make choices as to how we maintain frontline services to the very best of our ability. Deputy O'Dea raised a legitimate question about the extent of keeping frontline services right up there, and that's why when the figures become known as to who actually will leave at the end of February, that the pressure points are then determined, and you put your plan in place to deal with that. But for now, you continue with the same old rant. Don't pay, oppose, oppose, oppose. Is there not some place in the life of Deputy Gerry Adams that you can say, here's the way forward with confidence. This is being expressed by the international community with yields yesterday on the secondary markets at 6%. That's where they were before the bailout. And if this country can keep heading in the right direction, when we get to the end of our programme, we're going to have an engine on which we can fly on with our own economic independence.